Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our webinar on where an online MBA can take your career. We have 3 schools with terrific online MBA programs that we're going to be talking about in this session. And in general, we'll talk about, what you can expect as an online MBA student. Many of you may not be all that familiar with long distance learning, the flexibility it provides and what to expect. I think there's a lot of mythology about online learning that we hope to dispel in this session. But without further ado, let me introduce our 3 panelists. We have Travis Baldwin, who's an associate professor at the Jack Welch Management Institute. We have Maureen Cleary, who's assistant dean of the Georgetown McDonough School of Business Career Center in Washington, D.C. And from Johns Hopkins University Carey School of Business, we have Jen Laird, who's Director of Career and Life Design. So we'll focus a lot on exactly how an online MBA can benefit your career, accelerate your progress and trajectory, and perhaps even allow you to make a significant career switch. Let's start with Maureen and talk a little bit about the basics of the program at Georgetown.
Sure. Thank you very much, John. And I'm thrilled to be here today. So just to make sure that everybody's clear, my role, I manage the MBA Career Center. So working with all of our MBA students, whether it's the full-time, the part-time in person, or the part-time online. So we work with all of the students. It is a relatively new program. We are in our 2nd year and very excited about it. We do still, have a cohort model. So students starting the online program will start in person before moving to online. And one thing that I do want to highlight, which I think is very important, is at McDonough, the actual classes are the same, whether you're full-time, flex in person, or flex online. So you are getting a Georgetown McDonough MBA, regardless of the actual delivery modality. And as a career center coach and employer relations person, that's really important to me so that I can let employers know that they are getting students with this degree. I don't need to distinguish between the actual program that they were a part of as they go through.
Right. And it takes how long to complete the program, and what flexibility is involved in that?
Absolutely. So in average, it's a 3-year program that's intended, but we have started to develop a lot of flexibility. It can be as short as 2 years or as long as 5 years without taking a leave of absence. Of course, things happen, and some people need to do that. The typical student is taking 2 courses in a semester, but of course they can accelerate that. It is intended to be a year-round, so a spring, a summer, and a fall. But again, with that flexibility, students can adjust it accordingly.
Great, thank you. And Jen, give us the basic outlines of the Carey Online MBA.
Sure, absolutely. So great to be here with all of you today. Jen Laird, I'm the Director of Career and Life Design, and so we work across all of our graduate business students, our full-time MBA, flexible online MBA, and then specialty master's programs. And similar to Maureen, get to serve students, particularly from the career lens in the work that I do. For our flexible online program, it's a fairly large program, and our big focus is around adaptability. And so we had previously been an in-person with some hybrid options program, and have moved more recently to a fully online program, really to meet the unique needs of students, working professionals who are coming in to complete an online program. So real focus on adaptability, flexibility. The majority of students complete in 3 years, but there are 2-year options and then an option, to extend. So similar to what Maureen shared. And then there are options for students to come on site for in-person residencies and accelerated courses. So we really want to adapt to the needs of students if they prefer some level of in-person connection and opportunities. And then certainly local here in Baltimore and in Washington, D.C., networking events and opportunities to engage, as well as regional opportunities for courses and networking opportunities.
Great, and we'll get into the flexibility, like how easy it is to float from in-person, or rather from online to in-person and back. And now, Travis, the Jack Welch MBA is very different than a traditional academic MBA. So tell us what it involves.
Yeah, it actually really is. From its onset, Jack designed it to be a very different approach to education, and it is fully virtual, fully asynchronous. So the students are empowered to work around their schedules. So it was designed for working professionals, much like the other programs here, to empower you to learn when you're at your best. So the way JWMI is set up is it works on a quarterly basis. So there's 4 different quarters a year. You can choose to take 1 or 2 classes per quarter based on what's happening in your life, your career. If you have a break at work, you're able to juggle that through. So with that, you can graduate in as little as a year and a half or 3 years if you do 1 class at a time. We found that most of our students take about 2.5 years to get through the program. So sometimes they'll double up, but for the most part, it's kind of 1/3. So that's just kind of up to the individual. We have plenty that do the 18 months, and actually, I think Department of Education will let you take up to 10 years. So you can, if something comes up in life, you can take that little break. But
Yeah.
a little bit of a
So
different.
that's good. That's really helpful. And I just for everyone out there, just to make the basics, get the basics out of the way. So the big takeaways here should be flexibility, cost, because there's no opportunity cost since you can hold down your job and get your paycheck and not have to quit, which is a big factor. And then, of course, that flexibility is on several levels, right? One is you can extend the length of the program. So if there's a personal or professional need where you're not going to be able to devote as much time as you would, and typically these programs require about 20 hours a week of time, 10 to 20 hours. You can adjust your schedule in a way and push stuff off or add stuff in, which make it really helpful. If you're traveling on business, you can take your courses from a hotel room wherever you are. So that's a huge advantage. Now, I want to go through how these programs are distinctive. So, Travis, let's stay with you and tell me what you think is most distinctive about the Jack Welch MBA.
I think in a lot of ways it's the approach. At JWMI, we're not a research-based institution, meaning that professors, it's not about getting their stuff published and those kind of things. It really is a core focus entirely on the students. These are professors that have already been C-suite, running Fortune 500 companies, et cetera, some of them still are, that are giving their time back to share their knowledge and experience with the students. And it really comes down to, Jack really at the forefront of all this, taking GE to the #1 company in the world during his tenure and being CEO of the century. Learned a lot of lessons, got a lot of expertise, but obviously with that and being the #1 company, everybody wanted to work there. So every year they had their pick of the litter from all the top graduating classes, MBAs, et cetera, that wanted to come out. And what he found in GE over the years was there was a ton of incredibly book smart people, that had gone through schools, great schools, come through, but they had never been in a situation of executing and putting those things through. So they had tons of knowledge, but they didn't have the ability to execute and deliver. And that caused a lot of hiccups with the hiring and some of the stuff that went through. So Jack, after he left GE, taught for a few semesters at MIT, loved it, and really enjoyed it, but he was frustrated because he could only touch 40, 50 students a year doing that. So that's when he had the brainchild and the ideation of creating JWMI. And he took all of the executive training that they did for the management at GE and then combined that with the top tier MBA to provide a curriculum that can be done asynchronously, as we discussed, around their schedule to allow them, with the intent of focusing on leadership, to develop their careers, their skills, their knowledge, their confidence, to really help them take that next level of approach. So as far as what really separates us up, one would be Jack's mission of ridding the world of bad managers. That was kind of a battle cry he was known for. And the next I would say is the immediate applicability. Unlike a lot of programs where you go through, you take individual classes, you graduate, you have your MBA, now you're worth more money, and you go looking for that raise or promotion. At JWMI, in the very first class, that very first week, you are unpacking skills and tools you can start to apply that very same week to your career and your job. And that's exactly why we see the raises and the promotions and the impact of this program. I myself am a graduate of it, and I received 6 promotions, 3 while going through the program, 3 after graduating. That took me from mid-management to executive global leadership, and now I'm into VCs and entrepreneurship myself. So it's a fantastic transformational ride that I think is quite unique.
Yeah, and just for those who may not know, Jack Welch was chairman and CEO of General Electric for 20 years, from 81 to 2001. He passed away a few years ago. I got to know him extremely well because I helped him write his essentially his memoir biography called Straight from the Gut. So you can look it up. Now, and Maureen, at McDonough, what would you say is the distinctive difference in your online MBA?
I think, John, to be honest, it's the fact that it's the same as, the full-time MBA or the part-time in-person MBA, just that the modality is different. And so some of the best aspects of the Georgetown MBA, what really makes us distinct, is something that the online students are able to tap into. One of the key experiences, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is we have a global business experience where all of our MBA students do a consulting project for a company somewhere in the world. And it's definitely a highlight of the MBA, and that is something that is available to all MBA students, and so as well as our online students as well. So I think that being able to take advantage of those opportunities, I think is really great. And they're still able to tap into things without necessarily being in the DC market. Although I believe, and I'm not in admissions, so I may get in trouble for misspeaking, I do believe a significant number of our online students are actually in the greater DC area. They're just not able to physically come to campus for their classes. So from that way, they are able to still tap into that. And again, from a recruitment point of view, we haven't really seen the online students going through full-time recruitment yet. We'll be expecting that for next year, but a lot of that, they will have access to everything that the full-time MBA students have. And a lot of employers have been delivering these events virtually anyway. So I think it should be relatively straightforward for them to participate in those if needed. And I think one additional thing, not to use too much airtime, is we really in the Career Center take very much a personalized job search approach to working with each student. So you as an individual, what is it that you need? As a part-time student, are you looking to change careers? Are you like Travis and looking to get promoted? What is it that you're looking for? And so they're able to take advantage of all of our resources, and we're able to work with them as an individual to help them accomplish their immediate and long-term career goals.
Right. And because it is the same as your full-time, that means that your full-time faculty are teaching in the online program, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same faculty. In fact, many of the classes are mixed. Sometimes the full-time students complain that a lot of the classes they want to take are in the evening, and that is because of the part-time program. So, initially the program is a little bit, the students are siloed with their programs, but as they move through the program, it's very much a mixed model. And we are finding that our in-person part-time students actually want to participate in the online courses, although of course our online students have priority for all of those.
And you have a Flex MBA and then a Flex MBA online. What's the difference between the two?
It's really just the delivery modality. And so especially for the first year, the Flex is an in-person class where we are expecting our students to come and participate. But as they go through the program, certainly they're going to be a little bit mixed. But it really is just that expectation. And so for the Flex Online, similar to what Jen said earlier, we do have some residencies where we're asking people to come together.
Right.
But from our point of view, we have a McDonough MBA, and it's just a question of how do you access that information? How do you access the academic and the professors and everything else that we provide?
Yeah, and the online MBA has 2 week-long residencies in
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., right?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay, great. Okay, give us the lowdown on the Carey online MBA, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some similarities certainly in terms of what Travis and Maureen shared. I think, what I see as really distinctive and unique is a balance between really building the technical, the functional skills, and the human and the impact skills. And so taking a holistic look in terms of how do students want to, and these professionals who tend to be mid or further along in their career, how do they want to advance in their career? and really taking kind of that short-term and long-term view to meet their, next step in terms of the career needs, but also sort of the bigger picture here. And I think a big approach at Carey in terms of the MBA is to create that flexibility and adaptability for unique pathways. So there are 8 specializations in addition to the core foundation of the MBA curriculum that students can really figure out what is their unique path, what are the skills that they're looking to build, what are the experiences that they're looking to have. And then there are ways to kind of engage further in that in terms of the residencies that I talked about, but, accelerated courses, global immersion opportunities, and leadership expeditions, leadership fellows program through our Center for Integrative Leadership. So I think it's really about getting that, academic experience, but expanding it to how are you actually applying it and making it your unique skill set. We really do take an approach of hands-on application. So a lot of partnership with industry, with companies, with alumni to get students access to consulting projects and other, big data projects, opportunities to actually apply the skills they're learning. The other thing that I want to highlight in terms of, Carey, but also sort of an online flexible MBA opportunity is that as students, you are working professionals. And so I think what's really unique about an online flexible MBA is the diversity of the perspectives that come into the room. And so we really emphasize, and I know a lot of MBA programs emphasize this, is really your best network, your best growth opportunity, or the peers that you're in class with. And for the online, it's the peers that you're in the Zoom room with or in the online space with. And really, a focus in bringing in a diverse portfolio of students who come from a variety of different experiences across industry and function, personal and professional experiences, global experiences, so that you can really take a unique look at a data set or a problem that you're looking to face and really get access to a variety of different perspectives. And so I think there's that really unique opportunity in terms of an online and a flexible MBA approach for students to really cultivate this professional community that helps in the short term in terms of the promotions, the growth opportunities, but also really helps in this bigger picture long term, this network, this community that you have with you for the rest of your life.
That's great. And, I should mention another major benefit of an online MBA is the fact that what you learn in the classroom can be immediately applied on the job. And that's something you can't obviously do in a full-time program where you've quit your job and you're separated from employment. So in addition to flexibility, in addition to cost, there's that real world application that you can play with and try out and then bring back to the classroom and your classmates and your faculty to talk about how it worked or how it didn't work and really benefit from that, almost as if it's having a consulting relationship with advisors for your job, which is really a unique aspect of a part-time MBA program, be it online or in person. I want to dispel some of the myths about online MBAs and online education in general. Many people who are in the consideration phase of an online MBA wish that they could go in person, but because of many different reasons, including maybe not wanting to leave your job, they don't. So they want an MBA, they know it can be valuable to their career, but here's what they're worried about. They're worried about not being able to connect deeply with their classmates and faculty. They're worried that an online experience might be a light experience, not a rigorous one, as one that would be where you actually go to campus and sit side by side with their classmates. And they may be worried that if they in fact do want to make a career switch, the inability to do a summer internship as you would in the full-time 2-year MBA program isn't really available to you. So Jen, what do you say? What can you say to dispel those myths about online MBA education?
Yeah, John, I appreciate the question and certainly want to lean into the myth component.
Yeah.
And I think especially in the world that we are in now, that there is so much, not just learning and education happening virtually and via Zoom and via online platforms, but that mimics what we're seeing in the workplace. And so I think now more than ever, the online flexible learning is set up to meet the needs of students who want to engage fully in the experience. And so we are finding, in the workplace and in education, that you are able to build those connections, via online spaces. I do think it is then up to the student to take the step further, to set up those virtual coffee chats, to go to office hours of a professor, to really lean into engaging. And there is an option to sort of go through the rhythm of the work. But I find that as students step into the online MBA, there are those options. And then there are the in-person options as well that students can step into if they're wanting some of that experience. But I think that the fact that it really mimics what we're seeing in the work landscape and the evolving work landscape, it actually allows people to be on the forefront and cutting edge of utilizing technology and online learning effectively. So I think that's one of the pieces. I think the other piece is, leaning into a program that has application of what's being learned in the classroom in a variety of different tangible and micro ways. Different than, as you pointed out, the, full-time MBA. Oftentimes students are engaging in an internship over that summer, and that really, 6 to 8 week targeted experience. I think there are ways for students to really do that by engaging in things like, at Carey, we have our community consulting lab, and we're partnering with industry, we're partnering with businesses. We have the global immersion opportunities, we have the leadership fellowship opportunities. There are a variety of different centers and labs that students can tap into, some of those shorter term or micro opportunities to apply the learning. So I think there's a lot at the fingertips. What I find in terms of the challenge is really the student leveraging and tapping into the advising, the career coaching, the people that can really help them structure the experience that's unique for them, to figure out what is the pathway that you want to take. Because oftentimes in an online MBA, there's no shortage of opportunities. So it's really distilling to figure out, what do you say yes to given your limited time, and what do you potentially put on hold?
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I mean, I have found that number one, the technology has really dramatically improved over the last 10 years. And that has helped a great deal. The other thing that's happened is schools, and you mentioned a number of different things that you've imported into your online experience, are essentially taking things that were just totally expected in an on-campus program and importing them into the online experience, be they student clubs and organizations, lectures from guest speakers, experiential learning opportunities, immersions, things that in the early days of online education weren't available to you. So that the differences between an in-person and online program have greatly diminished. Maureen, you have thoughts about dispelling myths here?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Jen covered a lot of it, but 2 points that I'd like to add to that. So when we developed the online program, a lot of the conversations centered around how do we preserve the cohort feeling, because we do, like many MBA programs, we have cohorts, and the students travel through their cohorts, especially through their core classes. And there was a lot of concern that could break down if the online program. And so there was a lot of thought that went into that. And so part of that is the residencies. And then keeping those, especially those initial core courses, you're taking them with your cohort, which does reduce some of the flexibility, but it's at the beginning of the program. So hopefully students who have applied understand at least the first semester, this is what you're taking. So a lot of effort to try to create that. But the other thing is a career coach talking about the career piece. Certainly I hear that anxiety that students will miss out. And working with our part-time students, I've had experiences both of students who are able to arrange their schedule and their work for whatever reason to do a summer internship. I specifically cover financial services, so I deal with this a lot. So it's either students who, due to unfortunate circumstances, have been laid off, or maybe they work for the university and they're able to take a leave of absence, however, or they just quit their job if they get the right internship. So they are able to do that summer internship. But I also have seen students who are just able to navigate the full-time recruitment process and wind up with some really incredible opportunities that they're able to do. And I think, kind of going back to what Jen said, it's taking advantage of what's here. And so sit down with the students and say, okay, you want to do this, what are your parameters? Can you take the risk of quitting your job and doing a summer internship and being unemployed potentially at the end of that? Or are you going to just wait until the full time? So
Right.
I think you know, in my experience in higher ed and career services, I've seen things happen that I thought were impossible, and students are able to navigate it and be successful.
True. And you do have the support of an alumni network in a
Absolutely.
school,
Yeah.
which adds a lot to this, because many times classmates will tell you about a job that becomes available that's essentially invisible to the outside world. I think some of the best job opportunities today aren't visible to a wide audience. So having that sort of inside network of alums in the school itself is really important to expose these job opportunities to you. Travis, you have some thoughts about that?
As far as the myth, or as far as the
About myth making on online MBAs, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think where a lot of the myths for online come from, and Jen did a really good job surmising some of this.
Right.
But you go back 20 years ago, and we won't name institutions, but we all know there were some that were set up to do online schooling that really didn't provide a quality experience, vetted degrees, accredited, all these kind of things that go along with it. And I think that kind of put a stamp on things that turned a lot of people off for quite some time. What we're seeing today, though, as Jen pointed out, is that amalgam of new technology, new learnings, new resources, things that the world is just doing now. That's just part of the way we do business. And online schools really are just a carryover of that. And more than ever now, we've had enough track time to prove that early iterations of things that were done well isn't what's happening today. In fact, all the top tier schools are offering online variants. The quality of education, as Marie pointed out, is just as good as what you're getting in a campus environment, et cetera. And I think a lot of it comes down to the person, just the subjective want, John. Like you said, some people want to be in the classroom. It's motivation for them, makes them go through it, because with an online, you do have to be a little bit more of a self-starter. As Jen pointed out, it's what you put into it, it's what you're going to get out of it. You've got to kind of put your own feet to the fire to maximize that opportunity. But it is a great one, because if you look at a traditional brick and mortar learning in a classroom environment, we've all been there. That's where all my past degrees are from before I did the online MBA. But you've got the professor on the stage talking. It could be 20 people, it could be 200 based on the class, what's going on. Maybe, you have your first couple of people in the first row that always put their hands up answering questions, the vast majority of the back with their head down, taking some notes. And, you go through that, maybe you find 3 or 4 people to connect with on the side, form a study group, and that's your educational experience. But you're not doing a lot of networking in the classroom. You're not doing a lot of learning from your peers in the classroom, because it's disruptive. If you're talking in the class while the professor's up there, you're going to have an issue. That is the beauty of an online format, at least at JWI, and I'm assuming potentially with Maureen and Jen with John Hopkins and Georgetown. There is a component there where you're sharing in real time with your peers and you're having discussions. Like at JWI, we have what we call the DQs, the discussion area, which is you have your learnings, your videos, the lectures, the professors that you can watch and rewatch, which is nice too, because in the real world, you'll miss some things sometimes or whatever. So you can go back and redigest that. But it also gives you the opportunity to work with your peers. And I think that Jen did a fantastic job pointing out, and you did too, John, that there's a lot of learning and connections and networking that happens right there in the classroom from that engagement that you won't get in a traditional class. So at JWI, there's really kind of a trifecta of learning. Obviously, you have the curriculum and you have your world-class professors, but then you also have your peers. And that DQ brings that to life. It's like being able to talk in class while the professor's talking, something you can never do, but you're asking questions of each other. You're sharing experiences. What went wrong when that happened? Oh, we tried this. And to the point earlier, that happened and that happened. And the professor saying, if you're going to do this, look out for that, coming from the real world experience. It's just a level of engagement and enrichment to the educational experience. It's very hard to replicate in a real world environment. So again, subjective for people.
That's absolutely right. I mean, the truth is most of the learning in any MBA program, be it in person or online, comes from your classmates and the experiences that they bring into the class. One big differentiating point about business education is a focus on professional development and careers. We're going to assume you're going to learn the basics, whether it's accounting, finance, statistics, marketing, strategy, leadership. But what separates business education from almost any other discipline taught in the academy is this focus on developing you as an individual, making you more effective, so that you could have a more meaningful and fulfilled career. And I wonder to what extent you have a careers curriculum, and how do you use that to in fact develop people and transform them. Travis, let's stay with you and then move to the rest. Yeah.
Sure. So at JWMI, there definitely is a carryover. What you just mentioned, John, is so incredibly true because leadership of any type is always going to start with the individual. If you're not a good leader, you don't have good communication skills, you don't have EQ, you don't know how to connect with people, you don't know what you're doing, all these things, you're going to fail before you even get a chance to stand up. And as a manager, it's not about you. That's where a lot of people don't really understand. They want the promotions, they want the success, and some of it's ego, some of it's I want to climb and do this. But really great managers and great leaders for that matter, it's not about them. It's about the team, the company, how you can perform. So it really is just kind of giving till it hurts in a lot of ways to be a good leader and putting yourself out there. So how do you learn that? How do you get those soft skills? Because those are things that some people naturally have very high EQ, some don't, some are good communicators, some aren't. But whether you have a natural inclination towards this and you're born that way or not, there's still skills that can be developed. And that is why with JWMI, it starts at the very forefront with the very first class everyone takes, regardless of their, if they're staying at the leadership track or one of the other disciplines. You're always going to start with leadership. And it's the core principles of leadership in Jack's eyes, all the best practices, the things they've learned, what it means to be a leader, DISC assessments, personality types, EQ, all these kind of learning skills that come to form the baseline that carries forward into all the other 12 classes. This is not something that's siloed. None of the classes at JWMI are. They continually build and go on top of each other. So you learn those practices from Jack directly and the professors in that first class and kind of carry on and through. The other benefit as far as part of that, when you talk about developing yourself, not only the confidence and the skills and those things you're going to gain as you go through any quality MBA program, any of the ones here, that's going to be a natural progression of what happens. One of the main things that I found really amazing about JWMI was the engagement you get with your professors, because it is asynchronous. We have students in 82 countries around the world. How do you gather all that? And a lot of it, every session your professors do, the curriculum, the learnings, all that is always recorded. You can go and rewatch and digest that. Even if the professor does a live thing, it immediately becomes available for you to go back and host depending on time zones. But rather than a traditional, kind of office hours, the professors are incredibly engaged with the students, meaning that they will fluctuate their schedule to create private one-on-one Zoom opportunities with everyone in the class. And the reason those classes are kept very small, 18 to 20 people at most. And so you get that engagement both with your peers and the discussions as we were going through, but also that one-to-one time with your professor. And that is where you have a chance to really make the curriculum bespoke. Because if you go and talk to the professor and say, here's where I'm at in my career, here's where I'm thinking about going, here's where I want to go, I have questions about this, they literally will work with you throughout that semester to make and tailor that class and those learnings to what it is you're trying to accomplish on the side. So it really becomes a very custom tailored experience for everyone that's in there. Some people don't know where that journey is going to go. There might need to be a few classes in before they discover some things, etc., but it's always available to them. So that engagement's there, the community that you're in the classroom is there, but then on top of that, we have JWMI Connect, which is a private platform, kind of a private LinkedIn, if you want to think of it that way, where you can connect with all 7,000 plus students around the world in 82 of those countries. 4 out of 5, nearly 80% that are in there are open to being mentors as well. So we have, you'll be in the classroom with everything from military generals and CEOs of Fortune 500 all the way to people that want to be that management role for the very first time. So in everything in between, going to that diversity that Jen was discussing, it is so important. And Jack says you have the most to learn from those that are the least like you. And that's really kind of the benefit of bringing everyone together, is you get all those different opinions and outlooks and problem solving and approaches. You get to build that in and expand on your Rolodex. Yeah, the professor is helping you and guiding you as a consultant, as you mentioned, in addition to the classroom. And then you have the mentorship of everyone out in the network to go and connect with. So if you want to work at a certain company or your goal is to be a CEO or a CFO or whatever it is, you can literally search by title, by company, whatever, and connect with those people on the side to get the mentorship directly from them. Here's the steps I took. Here's my journey. Here's what you need to look out for. And then, of course, the traditional career center that we have. And then on JWMI Connect, there's a place, as you mentioned, for those off-market opportunities where people are posting those up. Hey, we're hiring, or I'm looking for something, or whatever it is to connect with, in addition to all the networking opportunities and gatherings that we do as well.
Great. Now, Maureen, give us a sense of the career curriculum at McDonough for an online MBA.
Absolutely. And it's, as with everything else, it's the same as with our full-time and our in-person flex. So all students have the opportunity to go through a pre-MBA or career program that we do. We call it the summer webinar series, and it's all about taking this moment before you start your studies, because I think one of the hardest things is, when do you have time to reflect? Especially as a working professional going to school, you really don't. And so we do have this programming that's offered. It is asynchronous, where students are able to really take time, reflect. What is it that I want to do? Why am I getting my MBA? What are my professional goals? At the end of the program, the goal is for everybody to have an MBA level resume that they can use if they're recruiting. So that is sort of the pre-MBA process, and we go through that. We also offer programming throughout the year for all of our students, focusing on different things. So in a few weeks, the week before Thanksgiving, which is coming up very quickly, we're having a LinkedIn lab, where it's offering a series of sessions for all of our students just to become more proficient at LinkedIn, which is great for whether you're a seeker or whether you're not and you just really want to do that. So that's a little bit of a focus section. We always have something in February. We call it the Career Springboard, which is for those that are going to be seeking in the real-time job search. So that being on. And we also do focus something for our students in the penultimate year of their program. So if you're in your second year of your online program and you're going to be looking for a full-time job next year, we have a training series to get you ready, because that does happen very, very quickly. So those programmings, that if you think about it, make sure that you're ready come the beginning of the fall semester, when you need to, or even earlier sometimes, when you need to start applying for roles. And then, of course, throughout there, it's access to the career coaches. We have on our team 6, we call ourselves industry practice leaders. So we're industry aligned. We're both coaches and employer relations. As I mentioned earlier, I work with financial services. I also work with real estate. We've got 2 consultants. We've got a marketing person. We've got a healthcare person, a nonprofit person. And all of our students have access to us to work with us in the way that best suits them at that need at that moment of time. Of course, like most MBA career centers, we are focused on that full-time job search, but I have certainly worked with students who are working through a challenging situation with their current manager that they need assistance with, are looking to make a mid-academic transition to a new job. Sometimes students get laid off and they need to do something. So really, whatever it is that they need at that moment in time, our resources are available for them.
Yeah, including interview prep, negotiating offers, making sure the resume is suited for the particular job that they're applying to.
Yep.
And I should also point out that at McDonough, you allow online students to attend on-campus employer events.
Yes, absolutely.
I would just point out is unusual in an online MBA program. And obviously they have access to your post-MBA job postings and that kind of thing, which is very helpful. And I'll make another point about this. I think, sometimes when you look at online MBA programs, you may think one online MBA program is like all online MBA programs. What I have found is that every program has different bells and whistles, different points of distinction. And so you really need to look more closely under the hood at what schools offer. Typically, what you will find is that the online MBA programs that are priced a little higher are going to have more career support, more high touch career help than the programs that are, basically disruptively priced. Let me put it that way. So you do pay, you get what you pay for. You really do. And it's not only brand, it is the level of services, the quality of the faculty who are teaching in the program, and oftentimes the quality of the students, your classmates. So that's all important to keep in mind. Jen, bring us through your career curriculum at Carey.
Sure. Thank you. So, in addition to learning from thought leaders and experts in their field in the classroom and, world-renowned faculty, we have a really holistic approach to career. And, for our flexible online students, my team are aligned by different program teams. So students have access to a variety of opportunities, but we want to customize our services to the unique needs of the working professional. So we offer an optional optional 8-week professional development for experienced professionals course that takes a life design approach to help students do some of what Maureen was talking about. That time for reflection is so critical, and to sort of take a pause to think about, what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? And then also goes into things like resume and interview prep and some of the day-to-day. So it kind of zooms out to take the big picture life design and applying some of the design thinking principles approach, and then the day-to-day. And so that's an optional asynchronous and synchronous course. We then also offer, throughout the year, a number of workshops. So we just offered recently one focused on the passive job seeker, because many of our students are actively looking for the next step, and some are, hey, I'm open to a next step, but I'm not actively in the job search right now. And so we want to try to tap into, how do you start preparing even before you need to prepare? And then we do offer, so a number of different workshops, and we're embedded, as I mentioned before, in our in-person and online residencies. So teaching things like life design, preparation for career and storytelling, leadership coaching, and leadership principles in terms of development. So really trying to meet the students in terms of where they are in their unique path. We then offer one-on-one coaching. And, what I think is a little distinct, so we offer career coaching one-on-one by MBA and career and leadership certified coaches. But we also offer leadership coaching to this population, because we do find that, many of the students are focused in kind of what's next in the career, and many students are looking to, grow professionally from a broader leadership lens. So we want to, provide both opportunities for students to grow in kind of that unique one-on-one space, as well as group coaching opportunities. And then certainly students have access to our online job boards, to the online resources around, case preparation and interview preparation, resume development, different trends of different industries. So we want to provide, based off of the limited time that the student population particularly has, how do they want to learn? How do they want to engage? Is it in the one-on-one? Is it in the group? Is it in a classroom setting? Or is it asynchronous online 24/7 access to resources? The other thing that we found was the job boards aggregate so many opportunities, but it misses some of that opportunity for the peer-to-peer sharing that you talked about, John, earlier, where opportunities, these are working professionals who are oftentimes tapping into opportunities before they're posted. So we created a private LinkedIn page for experienced professionals. So targeting, any of our Carey students across any program can access this page, but it's specifically focused on our part-time student or online MBA students, as well as our alumni, to be able to do some of that peer-to-peer sharing. And then students, as you mentioned, similar to McDonough, students have access to any on-campus recruitment opportunities as well as virtual. In the last couple of years, we found that many companies and recruiters are shifting to the online space, and so fewer are coming on campus anyway, which really meets the needs of this population. And, I think that's one of those equity pieces of the myth of, okay, well, I'm going to miss out on so many opportunities that are happening on campus. And we've really tried to replicate or expand some of that virtually. So we actually do a lot of our recruitment opportunities virtually now, because we have, facilities and classes taking place in Baltimore, taking place in Washington, D.C., and then our online campus in terms of so many students engaging online. So we're trying to create a little bit more equity in that space. We also, the last thing I'll just mention is we do joint appointments and online opportunities to bring in our employer relations team for industry insights and students who are really looking for that kind of deeper industry knowledge and industry connections. And we partner closely with that team. So trying to keep the coach kind of at the core of the experience, and then bring in different partners throughout the school. So very much a customized approach, kind of meeting the unique needs of this population. And, as you touched on before, and Maureen and Travis certainly touched on, there are a lot of diverse needs and desires of this group. And so kind of thinking about multiple ways that students can tap into what they need.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I always want to underline the real takeaway for me is, look, an online MBA program opens the door to a lot of new and different opportunities that you probably never even imagined existed. You'll discover that in the diversity of the classmates and the work experience that they bring. And then you'll explore that through the career support you'll get from the staffers who are devoted to that in these programs. And you'll see all the different job opportunities on a posting board or through your classmates or through the employers that are coming through a given school. So it's a real eye opener, particularly for people who have been head down working in a career in a specific discipline and maybe not understanding all the other opportunities that are available to you, which to me is a great benefit of MBA education in general. I can't believe it, but we're out of time already. I want to just let everyone know too that the Jack Welch Management Institute, Georgetown McDonough, Johns Hopkins University Carey School have terrific websites and a wealth of information on these programs, all the nuts and bolts, the courses that you'll take, the elective curriculum, if there is one, and a lot of detail on career support and outcomes. So that to me is your first stop for a lot more detailed information on each of these programs. And if in fact you wanted to reach out to any one of her panelists, I'm going to have each of them tell you how you can do that. And or if you don't want to be reached out directly, perhaps a team member might be suitable. Jen, how would someone get more information on the Carey program?
Yeah, so certainly on the website, and there are links there to connect with our admissions. If I can be useful in the process at all, feel free to email me at jen.leard, Leard, at jhu.edu. And we also have our career and life design page on the website, and there's a link to our central email as well for broader questions. So happy to be useful in the process.
And Jen, I love your title, Director of Career and Life Design.
Thank
Okay,
you.
because that speaks to the transformative nature of the education, that you can in fact have a changed and different life and hopefully a more meaningful and fulfilled one. Maureen, how can people contact you or a member of your staff?
Yeah, honestly, the best way to go is through the website, through the main admissions site. You're going to get the best information that way. And they will connect you with somebody who needs to get that. You can email me directly at maureen.cleary@georgetown.edu, but I'll be honest, my response time is not awesome right now, especially I've got a lot of investment bankers that are eating it up. So if you want actually immediate attention, that is going directly through the admissions, and I'm sure they will be very happy to speak with you or to introduce you to a current student who would be very happy to share more information.
Yeah, and that's a good way to learn more too from the front lines. Talk to a few students who are in the program or talk to alums. Travis, I bet before you chose your MBA at Jack Welch, you did the same thing.
I did, yeah, a whole lot of research, a whole lot of contacts, and working full time. It just, my dad growing up being an entrepreneur was always giving me his books to read. So when I saw that there was even a school, I was like, let me find out more. And when I found out it wasn't just his name on a building, it was like, okay, you have my attention. So yeah, great stuff. But to your point, John, is as far as reaching out, the website's fantastic, you know, and as everyone's is. We have a section on there called Winning Voices, where there's literally thousands of success stories from students sharing their wins, their promotions, raises, etc. So you can actually go and search by industry and different things too to find the ones that are a little bit more fitting for you. On the admissions side of things, you can do that through the website and reach out, or Carla Mueller, our director of admissions, her and her team would be happy to chat with you. And if you want questions from a student alumni, you know, and also now I'm teaching there a little bit too, so I can cover a few different facets, but I'm happy to do that. You can find me on LinkedIn. My personal email is tbaldwin34@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to me via that, you're welcome to as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions and provide any information I can.
Terrific. Travis, Maureen, and Jen, thank you so much for a great session. And for all of you out there, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot about these programs and the benefits that they provide students and graduates. The flexibility, we didn't talk about cost, but let me just assure you, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to earn your degree online than it is to quit your job and go full time. And the access to a lot of job opportunities is amazing. And I think you'll find you'll learn an awful lot and really improve your chance to make a real difference in the world here. So thanks for watching. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.